officer down.
Alright, welcome to Did They Game It, a show where we look at video games based on movies, TV shows, and pop culture to see if they could successfully adapt it. Today I'll be looking at RoboCop 3 for the Super Nintendo, and much like RoboCop with his jetpack, I'll be flying solo today. And yes, for those who didn't know, in RoboCop 3, RoboCop gets a jetpack. So for the game part of this, I was actually surprised that I kept playing it. When you first start it, the controls are kind of janky. They have it where to shoot up, you press a completely different button instead of just using the D-pad up and pressing shoot, which really kind of threw me off for a little bit because every other game I played, you just look up. That's about it. So right off the bat, that threw me off, and then I kept dying right away. And it's not even like it's a difficult game to pick up. It's just very hard right when you start off. When you look it up, I actually saw under the AI answers, a major criticism of the game is its high and sometimes unfair difficulty with no checkpoints and a lack of invincibility after taking a hit. Players may need to rely on memorization of enemy placements to progress. And all of that is true. The game is extremely difficult, but I still found fun in it. Like, I kept replaying it, and I don't know how many times I died. I spent days trying to beat it, and I eventually did beat it, which this is one of those games, if you beat it, you feel like you accomplished something, because it took a lot to get through this. Like, I had to pause it and take breaks and walk away, because you get to a point where you really do not want to die and restart. The very last level when I beat it last night, I had no lives left and I only had one hit left when I beat the game. So I felt really good right after that and I could finally eat. I didn't eat at all yesterday because I was just trying to beat this game. Overall, I mean it's RoboCop 3. They did game it. You feel like RoboCop, the movements look like RoboCop, the speeds like RoboCop. I just think that it's mostly like the length. You can tell that they just made this game difficult because there's not a lot to it. I know there's only 6 levels because you play on the street again, then you go into a parking garage, then you're on your jetpack flying around, then you're in the church, then jetpack again, and then you're at OCP headquarters, which, to their credit, all that was in the game. So they did match that up. There's even rats in the game, which were in the movie, and annoyingly enough, the rats took me out a few times. Like you're fighting robots, people with guns, a whole army, and I kept getting taken out by rats. So that was actually a pretty annoying way to lose. The run through, if you don't die, because I watched somebody do it on YouTube after I beat this, he beat it in about 20 something minutes without dying. So it's not a long game at all. It was all just based on difficulty for you to keep playing over and over. So if I was a kid and I was playing this back in the day, I definitely would have kept playing it because it's fun enough to keep going. It's not as frustrating as everything I read because I looked on Reddit and people are talking about rage quitting and that it's just an awful game. I wouldn't say it was awful. I honestly, this is one of the rare occasions where I enjoyed this more than the movie because I watched the movie last night after I beat it, and I haven't watched the movie since I was a kid. I think maybe 12. We used to only have 5 channels. We didn't have any cable. And the unfortunate thing about having only 5 channels is they never show you the good versions of movies. Like I never got RoboCop 1. I think sometimes we got 2, and I would always get RoboCop 3 on TV. I only watched it once. So revisiting that, it's still as bad as I thought it was. And I love RoboCop 2. Also, I love RoboCop 1. I'm okay with RoboCop 2. But I love RoboCop, I love the character, so that's why number 3 is so disappointing. Game wise, I really wasn't that disappointed. I think it's a very challenging game. If somebody could beat it without dying, or like the AI said, you have to basically lose and see where enemies are at because they shoot you off screen and you can't shoot them off screen unless their arm is sticking out or something like that. So that was kind of unfair, and that's why I died a lot too, because I get shot by somebody I couldn't see or shoot back at. So it really just is trial and error for hours. And if somebody can beat it on their first run through, hats off to you because I definitely couldn't. Took all day, several days. To be clear, I beat this on my original Super Nintendo. So I didn't get any saves or anything like that to do this, which, as I've said before, that's what I'm going to keep trying to do is find the games that I can and play them on the original system to get the real feel for it. With this game, I did not go out of my way to buy it. I got it in a group of games that I bought on eBay because sometimes I just like to go on there and see what I can get. And for what I paid for it, which I think was like probably around $5, definitely worth it. Would I pay much more than that at most to play this? I'd probably do about $10. I would say that's a fair price. And a lot of people I don't think are going to like this. If you easily get frustrated, don't play this game. Yeah, if you don't like to die and restart, don't play it. The only saving grace of that is, like I said, the game's so short, it's not like you have to restart and play through another 2 hours or something. It's only 20 something minutes long. Each level on average is probably about 4 minutes. So, really short game, incredibly short. And the shame of it is if they just lowered the difficulty a little bit and made the game longer, like it doubled it. If I would have got an hour out of this with a little less difficulty, I'm fine with it being somewhat hard or difficult at all. I played this, so I'm fine with it being difficult. But at a certain point where your whole gimmick, which I know is a big thing with Nintendo and older games, is to just have you keep dying instead of actually making a lengthier game, I don't really care for that, and it does get annoying. And I don't know if this game was rushed or something like that, and that's why they made it so short because they were just trying to get one out to go with RoboCop 3. But yeah, no, that is very frustrating. Happy I beat it, like I said, but when I looked online and saw that it was only a 20 something minute game, I was kind of disappointed by that. Also, I think this came out before the movie because of delays with filming, but they actually have a lot of things from the movie in it. And even the jetpack levels on this were pretty fun, I thought. I don't know why they didn't do more of that. I feel like you could have stretched out the game if in between every level where you're platforming and shooting, you just add in the jetpack level. Just throw in one of those because you could have added a lot more time to the game. So they could have just done that, add more jetpacks levels, and then add two or three more platforming levels where I don't think you have to do a whole lot. Throw in an Ed 209 to fight or something. Have him just fight more military on the street. That's about it. Just another gang to fight. It really just, yeah, was not a lot of meat on the bone in this one. Now, as for the movie, jeez, to start off, I had to check if it was a made for TV movie because the quality of it, and the way it looks, I didn't think it had a theatrical release, which I guess it did have a limited run. Peter Weller isn't in it, the actor who played RoboCop in the first two movies, which is a real bummer. You can tell it's not him. I know maybe some people won't, but you can definitely tell. The voice is also really off because for some reason they try to make him sound way more robotic. And I don't know if maybe the guy who's playing the actor couldn't really do the voice well, but I think they didn't find an actor for that. I think they just found somebody who could resemble Peter Weller when the mask was off because that's all the guy looked like to me. It just it feels like they're just trying like somebody's just trying to do RoboCop with the jokes and everything like that. They kind of seemed like the jokes from the first two, but they just don't hit the same. The lines were really telegraphed too. Like I was watching it with my fiance and we could recite some of the lines that were coming without even seeing the movie previously. Like one of them, RoboCop is trying to get to Lewis, so he drives his car off a parking garage and lands next to her to save her. And she says the classic line, "Thanks for dropping in." And it was just stuff like that where it really just kind of kills it, where they're just trying to get that comedy back and it's not there. It's just like somebody, I've seen RoboCop before. It's kind of funny. Let me make some jokes, but it just doesn't have the same feel. Also, a lot of stuff was just so on the nose where you saw it coming, or it just, like for instance, the doctor that works on RoboCop, her name is Dr. Lazarus, and I thought that was somebody being a smartass, like saying that, oh, you bring people back to life, Dr. Lazarus. No, that's her actual name. That's the character's name. And I thought, wow, that is just really too on the nose. And then, they telegraph things that are going to happen. Like his partner, they say, "Hey, aren't you going to wear body armor?" And she says, "No, I'm off duty." Well, you can see what happens. I think they were trying to hide that one of the enemy robots for RoboCop was a robot. Like it seemed like they entered it like it was a reveal later on in the movie when we thought they were going for the character was a robot to begin with because it had robotic movements, like it popped open its eyes like a robot, and then when it would walk into the room, the way it would scan and turn its neck was like a robot. So I don't know if maybe I misread that or if they thought it was subtle and they were gonna like have it be a big reveal. And then just the fight scenes between RoboCop and the robot, like it was a samurai robot, and it starts walking at him from about 30 feet off, just spinning the sword in a circle, and it gives him time to attach a gun to his arm and shoot it, and that was it. He just shot it in the face, and then it just broke. And that was the big fight scene in the middle of the movie, and I just, what? Like that's what I thought. Was that it? But don't worry, at the end they bring in two more samurai robots. And then they do this like they flip over him on either side and just like nudge him over. And there's a lot of fighting stuff like that in the movie where I don't know who thought that was a good idea or why they added it because we would just look at each other and laugh. And so I don't know if they just thought it would be really cool, but that was a big problem in this movie is it was that classic thing where for some reason the villain waits or takes forever to do stuff. Like of course you have a little girl who's a whiz with computers and somehow can just hack everything. And this isn't like a kid-friendly movie, but I feel like it was made for kids the way things work. Like she just plugs into an Ed 209 and reprograms it within seconds. And you're telling me you got nobody on the team or found anybody who could do that for you? And also this little girl just knows where like all their ports are to plug in. It makes no sense. Just like RoboCop when the doctor comes to work on him in like an underground facility, she walks up and says, "I'm going to turn you off now." And there's just like a dial she turns on top of his helmet next to his visor. And I just thought, wait, hold on. So if I get into close combat with RoboCop, there's a dial that if I just turn it really quick, he shuts down. There was a lot of stuff like that in this movie where it just seems super lazy, where I just don't understand how you could put that in and nobody thought, yeah, that doesn't really make sense. Maybe we should kind of remove that. But also, the company that was producing it was going bankrupt at the time. And that might have been another reason why some of this stuff happened. Like, I guess from what I understand, Peter Weller was willing to do RoboCop 3 but he was doing another film called Naked Lunch. I've never seen it, but probably better than RoboCop 3, I'm just going to guess. And they didn't have time to wait for him. So I don't know if the writing was on the wall and they had to get this movie done, so they didn't have time for Weller. But I don't think it would have made it a good movie, but it definitely would have improved it if they had Peter Weller in it. Also, this is kind of off topic from the movie itself, but if you look this up and see the poster of it, it looks like somebody photoshopped it on their home computer in 2002. Like, it's so poor. Because if you look at RoboCop 1 and RoboCop 2, those posters, I actually have a RoboCop 2 poster in this room, and it's a really cool poster to me. RoboCop 1 was a great poster. RoboCop 3, if I saw that hanging up in somebody's house, I would think they just made it themselves. Like they were just a huge RoboCop fan. Yeah, look it up if you get a chance. It's just gross. That's what it is. It's just gross. Also, RoboCop has a toe on his foot now. Because before he just had like the solid boot look, now he has like a big toe for some reason. And it's really off-putting once you see it. And I don't understand who wanted to add this. I think there's just a lot of stuff like that in this movie where I just don't understand. It's just I don't know, and then RoboCop's inaccurate for some reason. I remember the first movie, he's just like shooting off dicks and stuff from about half a block off, and he's super accurate. He's a robot. And then in this one, it seems like he can't hit anything. So I mean, that was a weird thing. I really don't think there's a lot of effort put into this. It has the unnecessary action stuff too. Like they think RoboCop's malfunctioning or there's a problem with him because he's not listening to his superiors anymore. He's making judgment calls instead of listening to his directives, which I think his biggest malfunction right now is he forgot how to use doors. In the scene after he jumps off the parking garage in the car, instead of opening the door and popping out, he shoots a hole in the roof and wastes like 50 bullets and then punches through it and starts shooting at people. And then later on in the movie, he's in a hotel, and instead of kicking in a wooden door, you're RoboCop, you can just kick through a door. He shoots a huge hole in it and then still has to punch through. And I just don't know. Like, he's on the run right now, basically. He's gone kind of underground because he doesn't trust the police force anymore. Bullets may be at a premium. So instead of aura farming and wasting all these bullets, just bust down a damn wooden door. A human could do it. You're RoboCop. Just kick in the door and stop announcing yourself. Like there's a bunch of cliche stuff like that where the enemies and the RoboCop keep announcing themselves with these actions, and I don't understand it. Also, there's a weird scene in the hallway where he shoots a gun out of a guy's hand and keeps like shooting it in the air where it's just spinning around. And I'm pretty sure if you look, you can see like there's a rope or a line holding it up. It's real primo quality in this one. I would not suggest it. I didn't hate watching it. I think it was more for the comedic value than anything, but I would not suggest anybody watching it. I don't think it ruins the first two RoboCops at all. I just think it's really pointless and it's not good. I mean, people didn't like RoboCop 2. I thought it was still okay. They had the weird thing about the kid drug dealer, and then I don't know why the kid drug dealer in the second one was more okay for me than the kid genius in this one who could just reprogram Ed 209s and this sophisticated software. It's just weird. Like the things they show too, like she hijacks into this camera at OCP with just like these little clamps. That's all she does is plug clamps onto wires, and then she has access to all the surveillance footage. And that's why I think this isn't kid friendly because they have like a lot of suicide jokes in this one. So I just don't think it's supposed to be kid friendly, but they have these kid things where it's like, yeah, if I was 10 or 11 and I saw that, I probably wouldn't question it too much. I would think, yeah, maybe somebody could do that. But it's a weird movie. It's not for adults, but it's not for children. What else did I have a problem with? Lots of problems in this one. I yeah, I wanted it to end too. At a point, I started looking at how much time was left, and I think it still had about 20 something minutes left. So that tells you a lot about it. So, like in the game, RoboCop flies in on his jetpack, starts blowing up tanks and helping all these people from the sort of military-esque people that moved in to clear them out. Then he goes to OCP, fights. I don't know if you could say he fights. He engages with two more samurai robots until the little girl, for some reason, is given time to reprogram and make them kill themselves. Like the main military bad guy sees that she's messing with the computer and he's like, "Whoa, what are you doing? Hey, stop that." What? And gives her, instead of just shooting her in the head, gives her time to do this and reprograms them. Then the samurais kill each other. The guy, of course, has a self destruct going. Robocop grabs Dr. Lazarus and little Bill Gates, and they fly off together. And then, you got the classic scene where another bad OCP CEO says, "Well, I got to hand it to you. You did a good job. What was your name? Murphy?" And he does like the weirdest smile when he says it. And he goes, "Murphy?" And then gives this real cheesy smile. And of course, I said it before it even ended. My friends call me Murphy. You call me RoboCop. And then it ends. But also, side note, peak irony of this film. So the whole film was about major corporations trying to displace people and kick them out of their homes for profit. And the final scene, from what I read, was filmed in Atlanta, Georgia, in a neighborhood where everybody was, get this, displaced and kicked out for the 96 Olympics. I think it was the 96 Olympics in Atlanta, Georgia. So that is peak irony. And I guess you could call it a funny side note. Yeah, because my fiance brought that up, and then I looked into it. Yeah, they cleared out the street for the Olympics, displaced all these people, and then made a film there about the evils of displacing people for a corporation. So I don't know. Do with that information what you will. I just thought it was something that had to be mentioned. But back to the comparison between the game and the movie, all the settings are there. The rats are there. The jetpack. Yeah, the whole. I mean, it's RoboCop 3. It just should have been a longer game. They also have a version on the Sega and NES version. I might end up buying the NES version and playing that and seeing if it's any better. Because from what I read online, some people say the NES version's better. I don't know. Sega one, from what I saw, is basically the same. But if you're gonna watch a RoboCop movie, I mean, just not this one. They actually have a good RoboCop documentary watched on Amazon. It's called RoboDoc. It's actually pretty interesting, and I suggest anybody who's a RoboCop fan should check that out. I will probably end up playing because I have the first RoboCop on the NES. So I'll probably end up playing that and reviewing that because like I said, I love RoboCop. I remember as a kid I used to watch the cartoon show and I don't think I even watched the first RoboCop until probably like man, it might have been watching it all the way through, maybe 20s or something. Instead I had seen this. And as a kid, I saw this and I saw the cartoon. I like the cartoon better, but yeah, I still liked RoboCop. So that just might say what a good character RoboCop is. If you can watch this crap and still like him, it's pretty good. But like I said, didn't ruin anything, which I think is kind of a trend now that you just hope something doesn't ruin the previous movies. Now, this one wasn't too far out. It was only a few years removed from RoboCop 2. So I guess it didn't have that chance. But honestly, the remake was even better. So in my list of RoboCop movies, it would go one, two, remake, then three. Like I said, it would have been better for a TV movie. That's what it felt like. It was the choreography and the filming and stuff like that was good for a TV movie. For a theatrical release, no, it was weird. And I think my favorite part of this was when Lewis, I guess it didn't, Lewis dies, but when she dies, he has this weird part where he just goes, Officer down. And I don't know why it was the most hilarious part to me. The whole movie is just absurd. Don't watch it. That's my suggestion. Don't watch it.